Ada for being angry. When I was sick, my boyfriend M20 and I F21 lived together at my parents' house. My boyfriend wouldn't take me to the ER. 2 weeks ago, I went to a walk-in clinic and they sent me home because I had clear signs of a UTI. They told me that I had passed the test. I was in so much pain in my hips a week after I went to bed that I couldn't move. I spent all day on a heating pad and cried for 2 more days, but I didn't stop. After I went to sleep, I woke up with the worst abdominal pain I've had in my life. In the middle of yelling, I called my mom. She tells me to wake up my boyfriend and tell him to take me to the nearby hospital, which has 7 men, but a small one or one that's 35 minutes away that would be able to handle what was going on, not a big one. You can just sleep it off. I'm in tears at this point. It doesn't seem like anyone thinks that I'm overreacting, which I've been known to do before. And it's probably not a big deal, because I didn't find anything when I tried. As if someone has stabbed me. This is not the kind of pain I feel. There is a good chance that my bladder could burst because of how bad my bladder pain is. Finally, my boyfriend agrees to take me home with him. Only if I let him sleep for 2 more hours. He went to bed at 3 a.m. I can understand if it was some time that was not God's time. Then, I played video games. There will be no one home to drive me if I don't get there soon. He turns over and lies down. An hour goes by of the worst pain I've ever felt. I decided that I will just try to be strong and drive myself to the next town. One more time. I told ER that I had to go now because something was wrong. I drive off in my car and make it 2 blocks before I forget my wallet. He snaps and says, "Give me 1 more hour." I couldn't drive because I was in so much pain. I couldn't do that. I come home and lay next to him in bed as I scream in pain. He says that I know it takes him a long time to wake up and I have no right to be angry. I can barely speak. Please take me to the one that's 7 minutes away because I'm a little afraid. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I haven't slept for 2 hours. I tell him that. In order to pick him up from the hospital and help him get better from his injury this summer, I bathed him and wiped him because he needs it. It takes him a while to finally take me to the hospital. 7 minutes from now, and I'll be there. An advanced UTI turned out to be the cause of my bladder and kidney infections. I also had a kidney stone that had become infected. The way I felt that morning made me feel bad, but I was in a lot of pain. I had to think back to when I said things like, "Okay, but don't help then. And you're being a dick in response to what he's done," was my TLDR boyfriend who didn't drive me to the hospital until he had more money. To me, 30-year-old woman, I overshared about my overwhelming relationship with my mother 54F. I've been talking to this 29-year-old woman on a dating app for a few weeks. She's blocked me from seeing her. Judy, let's call her. We've been doing a good job of getting it done so far. In the app, there are a lot of texts. Then, for a few nights, they exchanged voice messages on Instagram. We talked about a lot of things and everything was going well. My mother, 54F, has come to visit me for the last 5 days. I live far from my home city, away from friends and family. She's a very intense person who is also very stressed out about things. So, she's been talking about how she looks like she has ADHD. Within a few days, even though I love her, I was already overwhelmed by the intensity of it all. A few messages were sent to Judy on Saturday, and I asked her how she was doing. I felt overwhelmed at the time. She asked her too. In the beginning, Judy said she didn't want to bother me. As a result, she told me she thought I needed a break from my mother because she was so strong. People may have thought that I had shared too much. But because we've talked so much already and I was stressed out, I thought it was okay to be honest with Judy. A few things I said. I talked about my anxiety and ADHD, and how I was having a little trouble with my mother at the time. Judy has asked, "Is my mother sick?" She asked if she was. I told her I wasn't sure, that I only talked about it because my mother has been talking about it. I apologized because I didn't mean to make her condition seem small. It was also my fault for telling her about everything she said was fine. She also said that she was going out today. I was sad to learn that she had blocked me. It's the first time someone hasn't liked me. So I don't know how to start. I know it isn't. But I think she could have said more about how she felt about what I was saying. I'd even be able to look at things from the point of view of someone who has ADHD. In addition, I'm afraid that I may have caused her to be angry or make her feel bad. Judy and I share a friend for a second. I thought about asking her to tell Judy that I was sorry, but I didn't do it. A bad thing would happen if she felt bad that I was overwhelmed and so on, or had someone to talk to. I quickly came to the conclusion I'd better do something about it. I should have written here instead of talking to Judy today. I'd like to know how to deal with anxious behavior without getting overwhelmed by my situation with Judy and how to deal with the desire for closure when I get blocked. / in the text drive. When I talked too much about how my visiting mother's anxiety and self-diagnosed ADHD was overwhelming me, I was cut off by the woman I had been talking to for the past few weeks, who has to have ADHD. I feel bad that I might have made her angry at it. Try to read and answer as much as I can. That's not the only thing I realized. I realized that trying to explain and justify myself in my answers is kind of going against the part about letting go and moving on. It has been a long time, but I'm still reading and thank you for all of your feedback. You're welcome. This is just a fun fact. My 22-year-old boyfriend won't say, "I love you" after they've been together for a while. So, for the record, my boyfriend and I have been together for a year and 6 months now. I really like him. He's smart, funny, and helps me become a better person. We've even talked about moving in together recently. His not telling me he loves me is the only thing that is stopping me from moving in with him. She cheated on him with another man in the past and now it's hard for him to trust people again. Understand this, but I didn't want him to feel like he had to say those words to me. In the same way, I think this little thing could be a deal breaker for me, too. I've tried to tell him how I feel without overwhelming or pressuring him 3 times before, but each time I failed. If he doesn't listen to me when I tell him I love him, I don't know what to do. I don't want to be petty or mean to other people or, when I want attention, I act like I'm looking for it. I don't know if I want to stay in a relationship when it might mean that the person I want to spend the rest of my life with won't say they love me. As TL Doctor a year and a half ago, my boyfriend told me he loved me, which might be a deal breaker for me. That's the end of the story for now. My friend M is 27. I like him and it just came out. When we text, I was drunk. His friends are acting weird when I'm around, and I told my male friend that it was weird. He is still single because he is a great person. It's true, his selfie with his arm around his head is also on the list of things he took. So I'm not sure if he likes me. Yesterday, I saw that some of his friends were smiling when they saw me. That makes me feel like they're making fun of me. No, they aren't. Because they are happy. I think so. I like him, but I think he doesn't really like me that way. And I didn't mean to say that he's a good deal, but it slipped out of my hands. Then how do I move forward? Should I stop talking to him and not bother him anymore? People think I'm a fool. Telling a friend that you have feelings for someone is a good way to tell them that. I like him when we text each other. Slipped out while I was drunk. There were some weird things his friends did around me.